So on January 6th of this year, the New York Times did a big page one look back at the riot at the U.S. Capitol, a retrospective. Quite long, quite intense. The piece was triple bylined. One of the reporters was a man called Matthew Rosenberg. Apparently he's a national security reporter there. The piece was called The Next Big Lies. January 6th was no big deal or a left-wing plot. So the piece spent a lot of time attacking this show. Here's part of it. Quote, Mr. Carlson has emerged as a leading proponent of January 6th revisionism. Catch that, revisionism. Most prominently with his three-part Patriot Purge series. Carried on the Fox Nation streaming service, it amplified a debunked false flag conspiracy theory that the FBI had instigated the violence as a pretext to lock away peaceful but concerned Americans because of their political views, creating a class of patriot martyrs. On Thursday night, Carlson aired excerpts from Patriot Purge on his primetime show, spreading these conspiracy theories to one of the largest audiences on cable. Mr. Carlson's relentless promotion of the series and the ensuing silence from Fox News management recently prompted two longtime conservative contributors at the network to quit in protest and contributed to the exit of Chris Wallace, the longtime news anchor. Okay. So we're completely out of control, spreading conspiracy theories about how the FBI was on the scene on January 6th, totally debunked and discredited. That was the word from Matthew Rosenberg on the front page of the New York Times. So recently, Project Veritas went out and honey-trapped the guy, apparently. Got a young woman, drinks, and videotaped Matthew Rosenberg talking in private. Now, we have mixed feelings about those kind of tactics, but it's kind of fascinating what Matthew Rosenberg says when he doesn't think people are listening. In fact, he explained, the FBI, and he would know, had a, quote, ton of informants in the crowd on January 6th. Watch.
Like, you could tell how much fun we had on January 6th.
Oh, that's great. Are you allowed to have that much fun on January 6th? Aren't you supposed to be mourning?
I know. So if you're traumatized. But like, all these colleagues who were in the building, a little younger, who's like, oh my God, it's so scary. I'm like, oh,
is that really the vibe there?
From them. I'm like, come on. Like, it's not the kind of place I can tell somebody to man up, but I kind of want to. You're like, dude, come on. Like, you were not in any danger. We're the ones, not Fox, not Breitbart, who actually went and uncovered the fact that, like, there were a ton of FBI informants on the people who attacked the Capitol. That was us, not the right-wing guys.
Oh, they uncovered that there were, quote, a ton of FBI informants in the crowd on January 6th? I don't remember reading that in the New York Times. We read it on Revolver News, which is edited by Darren Beattie. His outlet was the first to document that there were a ton of FBI people in the crowd on January 6th. A ton. And he was denounced for it, and so were we. Darren Beattie joins us tonight. Darren, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations. Not that you need to be vindicated by the New York Times, the paper that defended Joseph Stalin. However, it must feel kind of nice to see this guy admit that you were right all along.
It's nice and it's amusing, and what it shows is that the New York Times, at least certain reporters, are not as ignorant as we thought. It's simply maybe even a little bit more duplicitous than we thought. It's the whole expose by Veritas is fascinating. It's fascinating to hear this individual trash his colleagues. It's not just the presence of FBI informants. The whole notion that it was this grand insurrection is something that he rightly, at least in private, dismisses as ridiculous and ridicules his colleagues who are dumb enough to believe it. It's quite a remarkable piece of footage.
But you have to wonder, if you're a national security reporter at the New York Times and you find out there were a ton of FBI people in the crowd, doesn't that kind of demand a follow-up? Don't you have a moral obligation to find out, like, what the hell is that? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? What was the federal government's role in this, quote, insurrection? Why aren't they writing that story?
Well, it's a great question, and they seem resolutely uninterested in exploring this, other than the occasional exception to do damage control when certain tidbits of the truth come out. And it's a particularly important revelation coming right at the heels of the Michigan kidnapping trial, which, as we see, the defense in that case, it was so infiltrated by the feds that they're actually going to use an entrapment defense. And so there's so many unanswered questions. There's still the Ray Epps issue, which has gotten no answer. And all these people can do is apparently acknowledge it's all right in private and then do nothing with their sources in order to expose the truth to the American people.
Just really quick, is it obvious to you that the more loudly they scream, the more aggressive they get? They did this after the death of George Floyd. They did this after January 6th. They're doing it now with Ukraine. It seems like there's a connection between their self-righteousness, their aggression, and their duplicity. The louder they yell, the more they're lying. That's what it seems like.
Absolutely. They've been extremely vicious protectors of this narrative because it's so important to them. The whole lie about January 6th is used to justify the repurposing of the national security state domestically against the American people. If they lose that narrative, they lose that agenda, and they can't stand to have that happen.
You think Kevin McCarthy might sort of clue into this? Do you know what I mean? If like Liz Cheney is screaming about January 6th and then she's screaming about Ukraine, like maybe take a step back. What's going on here? Kevin McCarthy? But no one seems to think that way. Weird. Darren Beattie, we are grateful that you do. Thank you for your reporting.
Thank you.
So we analyzed the presence of federal informants on January 6th for a three-part investigation of Tucker Carlson Originals, Patriot Purge, the one that the New York Times denounced as a conspiracy theory. You've got Fox people to quit. Okay. We spoke to a security analyst called Michael Waller. He spent years working as a professional agitator during the Cold War for the U.S. government. He told us that the storming of the U.S. Capitol was a coordinated event. It resembled his own training. In case you haven't seen it, here's part of what he told us. The media and Democratic Party leaders created the environment that made the January 6th violence all but inevitable. But were there other agitators there that day? Someone who might know is security analyst J. Michael Waller. For years, Waller worked as a professional agitator.
And my area of specialization has been political warfare, psychological warfare, and subversion. During the Cold War, I infiltrated Soviet International Front organizations for the purpose of causing provocations that would discredit the Soviets. And so we actually managed to provoke a fight to break out at the World Peace Council conference that the Soviets had been sponsoring in Europe. So we had the headline in the Boston Globe, "Fight breaks out at World Peace Conference." January 6th was a political warfare operation. Having been trained by professional agitators in the past, I saw that this is a coordinated effort, that there are different cadres of agents provocateurs and other troublemakers who had a sort of a military-like precision in what was to become a storming of the Capitol building.
So that was from Patriot Purge, denounced by the New York Times, turns out unfairly. You can watch the whole thing right now on Fox Nation. You can get it for free at tuckercarlson.com. So gas prices have never been higher. Instead of increasing domestic oil production, our leaders have been busy begging other countries, in some cases pretty loathsome countries, for help. Recently, Joe Biden personally reached out to leaders of Saudi Arabia to beg them for oil, but they didn't return his call. Oh, has America's place in the world shifted? Have we been reduced by the last 13 months? Yeah. Maybe you're getting the impression that our leaders don't really want to solve this gas crisis in the first place. Well, we have confirmation for you tonight that that is absolutely true. Here's the Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm of Michigan, performing in a music video filmed a couple of years ago. In the performance, she sings hopefully that gas will disappear in this country entirely. Watch this.
Gasoline, gasoline, you're driving me insane. Gasoline, gasoline, the world's aflame. Gotta go quick, electric, change the way we move around.
So decadent, so stupid. Gasoline is a miracle. It's been a blessing for this country and for the world. It's one of the most highly concentrated forms of energy ever created. If you think it's not a big deal, you're an idiot and malicious. But keep in mind, these are the people who are blaming Vladimir Putin for the price of gas.